Hello, this is Jimbo. I'm out in my garage and I figured I would film an intro to the next podcast. This is the second one by this person, Captain Taylor FEMA Hiester. The first one was about a year ago in South Carolina, but now he is the F-16 demonstration pilot for the Air Force. So he and his team went to the Airshow in Pierre, South Dakota, which is our capital, on Memorial Day weekend, 2024. So my wife Mary and I packed up the car and the podcast gear and we headed out there. So we got to visit with him again, which was really cool. And also again with Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Doohan, who flew a South Dakota jet out there for static display. And there's film of him flying that one away as well. And there was a third pilot there. He's a safety ground pilot that they switch out whenever FEMA flies air shows. And they make sure that the demonstration pilot is flying safely through the entire routine. And so he gets to be up at Show Center and talking with FEMA on the radio. So that was pretty cool. So we got some film with those guys, but then the ending I'm really proud of. It was really fun editing it. I filmed his demonstration as best I could with a cell phone, put it to some pretty cool music and some pictures and things. So like I said, I had a lot of fun putting it together. Some really cool kick butt music, and I think it turned out pretty good. So anyway, you can be the judge of that, and I hope you sit back and take a look at it. Take care. There we go. Getting ready to do what today?
Right there's the sheriff. We're going to do 5 years here.
Oh, excellent. We are going to get moving. Here we are getting lined up behind the sheriff, getting an escort to the airport. You can hear the sirens, but he's hitting it before each of the intersections.
This is pretty cool.
Never been on an escort like this before.
First time I've gotten a free pass to go through a red light.
They zip along pretty good.
How fast are we going, Jim?
52.
And what's the speed limit?
35.
How fun.
We're part of this escort because we're going to be filming another podcast with FEMA, and this one's going to be based on as being the F-16 demo pilot for the Air Force, and also being here in the state of South Dakota where he got his start flying the F-16 first, a fighter squadron. That guy pulled right out in front of the car.
I saw that.
Sheriff.
Yeah.
Got a little honk. Hello, this is Jimbo from the YouTube channel Jimbo South Dakota, and this is the Hog House Chronicles podcast. And today, on a beautiful day in Pierre, South Dakota, we're here with Captain Taylor FEMA Hiester, and you may have seen him on an earlier podcast. I will link it up here. But he started his career as an active duty pilot with total force integration, meaning he came to our guard unit for his first couple years of training, and then has moved on. And you're going to find out what he's doing now and why we're here. So. Yeah. Welcome. Nice to see you again. It's been great. It's been a year, and we were in your place in South Carolina.
It's special to do this again, and especially be back in South Dakota for my home show this year. It's a special part of the world, and like you said, I did get my start here with the Guards, so it's really awesome. So
I did want to say that I am wearing the T-shirt from his squadron, and that he got me last time we were there.
Yep.
My wife's over here. His family's out there, along with some other pilot buddies from the Air Guard. So
I love that you're wearing the shooter shirt. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It kind of feels weird though seeing you in a different shirt other than the Lobos and stuff. So yeah.
Well, the shirt that I wore during your previous podcast is on all my intro outros now. You took a great photo there, so
awesome. Yeah.
You're the one behind
Awesome.
that. So yeah, why don't you just let us know what got you here, your start, whatever you want to say.
Yeah,
for this one.
I grew up in Pennsylvania. And I grew up fascinated with airplanes. Anything that went on an adventure somewhere else, whether it was trains, planes, automobiles, that was fascinating to me. And I got to airplanes and then never grew out of it. And so growing up in America, I always imagined growing up to be a fighter pilot. And there are a few countries in the world where I think somebody as young as I was when I set that goal could grow up and actually achieve that. And I owe all of it to the one, to the country, but two, to all the people that mentored me along the way. So yeah, super grateful. And you're right. My first assignment was flying the South Dakota jets, which is really special. I tell the story that most active duty pilots will either go to South Carolina, where I'm stationed right now, or South Korea. And then when I found out I was going to South, the first part made sense, and then Dakota was the part that didn't make sense. I didn't even know they had F-16s. But starting my career in the South Dakota Guard is special. So
yeah, and it was great getting to know you there, and just following your career. You are a busy man. You are meeting thousands of people, some of them just by shaking hands for a second out here, and some of them that you work with. And it's just awesome seeing the pictures that you post. And we just love watching you and your family progress through your career.
It's the honor of a lifetime to serve as the commander and pilot of the Viper demonstration team. The American F-16 demonstration team is unlike any other in the world. With a team of about 10 Americans, we're going to travel the world this year. We're going to do 4 countries and 25 shows and see 3 million people. And it's a special year for us. So it's the 50th anniversary of the airplane. And to have the opportunity to be in the right place at the right time to serve in this way is special. So
yeah, you mentioned the airplane, so we might just as well get into that part, because that's quite a story in its own.
Yeah. I had decided when I got hired for the job, I actually had pitched the idea to my leadership of getting the airplane painted in the original prototype scheme, the YF-16 scheme, excuse me. And the reason that I wanted to do that was it's the 50th anniversary, and it wouldn't make sense if we did it any other year, but to paint the airplane in the way that the airplane first flew would be special. And originally the answer was kind of like, no, we don't think we're going to go with a special scheme. And to believe this or not, people were on our front door on social media with pitchforks and torches wondering how is it possible that the American military is not going to do a special heritage scheme for the 50th anniversary. What they didn't know is that me with a small team of people were working behind the scenes to make it happen and get it across the finish line. And we're very grateful for the support of our wing commander, Colonel Christopher Smith at the 20th Fighter Wing, and all the people that made it possible in order to get it done. Ultimately, Colonel Smith authorized it, and we were well on our way. I decided, though, that we would keep it a secret from the American public, because I think right now more than ever, we need to reinstill a sense of confidence in the American people about the government institutions, especially our military. And so we kind of just played hard to get with the paint scheme answers, and dodged questions as much as we could. All the while in the background, we flew an airplane. I flew the airplane out to Edwards Air Force Base to get it painted in total secrecy.
How long does it take to paint an F-16, and was this one specially expedited?
Yes, it was. Yeah, so the airplane, we were told that it would probably take anywhere between 10 to 12 weeks, and Edwards Air Force Base agreed to take on the project almost immediately, which that is a special part of the country. If anybody's interested in serving in the military, whether serving at the Department of Defense as a civilian or serving in the military, I encourage you to look at the test, the 412 test. The fact that Edwards took on the project, I probably met thousands of people out at Edwards, and every single one of them had a sense of expedition that was just unmatched. And the short answer was yes, we will get it done. The longer part of the answer was it'll typically take us 10 to 12 weeks, but we're going to be able to do this in 5 to 6 for you. And we won't sacrifice any standard. And they didn't. You saw the airplane out on the ramp. It is immaculate. So we're really grateful to them.
So the 10 to 12 weeks would be your standard time for like any F-16?
Right. And this one's I've been kind of making jokes. It's America's airplane, but I do genuinely believe that. It's red, white, and blue. And it's a meticulous paint scheme, and the detail that they left no stone unturned. So it looks immaculate.
And I don't know that much about painting F-16s. I heard some, a little bit back when I was at my unit there. But while I was reading one of the posts that you had, some of the items that go on those planes are stickers, actually? Or what's the term?
Yeah, we actually don't have any stickers on the airplane, with the exception of the names. The names are the only vinyl piece that's on there. Okay. As far as I know, the rest of it is actual paint, so stencils and paint. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I can't imagine, something that goes 600 miles an hour plus would have very much with adhesive on there, but you've got some pretty amazing stuff out there.
We joked that we just unveiled it for our first show. Again, it was a secret to the world. We unveiled the scheme to the internet, and then did a first flight at Edwards, which was special because that's where the airplane first flew. The airplane first flew in 1974 there. We did a lake bed photo shoot, and then I had the honor of flying the airplane for the first time 50 years later at Edwards in the same piece of sky that it had first flown in. And so the whole thing's been a dream. I feel like I'm going to wake up and be late to high school, and there's no way that was possible for me to have that opportunity and for the team to be there. I'm just the most visible part in the airplane of a massive effort of people. We have maintainers that are out in the line right now preparing the airplane to get ready for the show. They're out there with merchandise available to the public, interacting with the crowds right now. So to just be the lucky one that gets to fly the airplane is special, and I take everybody that works on the project with me when I go.
I saw a C-130 from St. Joe, Missouri out there. Is that what was hauling your crew around?
Not this time. Not this time. The team, I'll brag about them right now. We have anywhere between seven to nine, depending on the time of year, enlisted members on the team that are maintainers, specialists, avionics, electrical, environmental, crew chiefs, and then we have one public affairs specialist. And they travel from show to show on commercial air. And they do this with about a dozen or more Pelican cases, kind of like you travel with your podcast, and they go from airport to airport. Where I'm pretty fortunate, I get to show up somewhere and I kind of slide down the nose of the airplane with the reins in my hand. They're often doing layovers in places with Pelican cases that it's a thankless part of the job.
I like the horse metaphor there. Appreciate that.
Yes, I figured you would. Yeah, but yeah, I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky to have to be able to work with such an amazing group of people that are they're the best the Air Force has to offer. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, he's ridden horse with us quite a few times in South Dakota, so I had to put that in there. So the maintainers, are they the ones that are like working the merch booths and stuff too? They're doing everything they can with the least amount of people when you travel?
That's one of the special parts of the team, is that because we have such a small footprint, if you see our team anywhere, you're going to see familiar faces. With some of the larger formation teams, they trade out staff and members as the year goes on. And, some shows, some people stay and some people go, but we call ourselves a group of carnies that travel the world, setting up the Ferris wheel, the red, white, and blue Ferris wheel where we go. But it is it's a unique job to have that small number of people. But I've often said to people who will listen is that leading a small group of people, in my opinion, can be more challenging sometimes than leading a large group of people.
Really?
The reason I think that is, I think there's oftentimes like anonymity in decision if you're with a large group.
Right.
And you have a larger group of people that there's sometimes can be a buffer in any emotional disturbance in the force, if you will. Where on a small team, we know everything about each other. Like if somebody gets a new shirt on the road, we know. Like because we're traveling, we're doing 290 to 300 days on the road a year. And if somebody gets a new flannel t-shirt, a new flannel shirt, you're like, nice shirt, man. Where'd you pick that up? Because we know everything about each other. And so it is a family. It becomes a family of people that travel the country and put on this display. But make no mistake, it's a professional military act.
Mm-hmm. It's like your happy haircut day.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Happy new
people enough that when they get a new shirt. Yes.
Well, and you've always been one to really pay attention to people, and that's what really drew us to you, is just how your personality is, and and Jenna, and I'm sure your son John's gonna grow up the same way, with your mentoring and stuff. But you're a dynamic person, and people like to get to know you. And Mary and I have actually talked about this at home, where we feel really close to you guys, being at your first unit and stuff. But I've told Mary a couple times while we're looking on the computers, like it's almost like, yeah, Mary, we've got to let him go.
No, I hope you guys never do.
Meeting so many people.
I hope you guys never do.
You're just so tight with so many folks, and you're the kind of guy that can do that and do that successfully. And maybe we won't text you. Might be up to a year or whatever, but then when we see each other, it's just like yesterday. So.
No, I hope you don't sell our friendship short, because we just the nature of who we are, and especially with this job, we have the opportunity to meet thousands of people. And we're really fortunate for that, but we've always been the kind of people that keep a small inner circle. And you guys are part of that. I mean, you guys are our family. And so to keep our friendship with you guys is really special. And we talked about it in the last podcast, but every time I think about officiating your retirement, when you offered me that honor a couple of years ago, like to think that what was it again? 28 years?
In my military time?
Yeah.
35.
35 years. I think I said 28 last time too, and you corrected. 35 years
I don't know.
of military service. It was just to be the guy that you asked to be there to MC the retirement was like, dude, I can't believe the honor. So please don't sell our friendship short, because Jen and I love you guys to death.
Well, there's another picture that you were behind on my intro and closing logo for the Hog House podcast. There, I'm sitting on an F-16 in civilian clothes and a cowboy hat, sliding over, and that was because of you as well, because you lined that up.
Yeah.
And I almost didn't do it because we were pretty sure we were going to have a second session doing that, but in your infinite wisdom, you can never take that for granted.
Yeah.
And you come in my office, just, Chief, I really think you need to do this
Yeah.
time. I was like, all right, absolutely, we'll be there. So thank you for that.
No,
You're credit for 2 of the photos that are standard on the old Hog House Chronicles.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Pretty sweet.
Grateful.
So there's another piece of your equipment that's near and dear to my heart, because
Yeah.
it's what we worked on in the
Yeah.
life support and aircrew flight equipment
Yeah.
shops. The helmet. Let's
Yeah,
fill us in on
I
the
wish
helmet.
I would have thought to bring it in. The airplane, as you see it in the sky, is as close as we can get it to the way that it first flew. And the helmet, everything down to the helmet, I had the unique opportunity. I made some friends at the Fort Worth Aviation Museum, and General Dynamics was in Fort Worth. They put the original F-16 together in Fort Worth, flew it on an airplane to Edwards, assembled it kind of like a Lego set at Edwards, and then flew it. But Fort Worth Aviation Museum is working on a project of their own actually right now. They're assembling the second prototype F-16, the original airplane itself. They have it.
Really?
And Jim Hodgson and a couple of the other, Jerry Asher, a couple of other of those folks that I had a unique opportunity to meet when I went to Fort Worth. Kind of a funny thing, they have been working on this project for a while, and I've been watching their YouTube videos. But because we were painting ours in secret, I didn't want to reach out. I didn't know them yet. And they had actually reached out to us and said, hey, you guys are the Viper demo team. Would you like to stop by and see us assembling the original YF? And so anyways, we get there, and I kind of pulled them around in a circle. I was like, I got something to tell you guys. And so it instantly became an immediate friendship that I hope to keep forever. And they offered me the unique opportunity to go to the archives. And in there was a lot of Phil Ostricker, the original pilot, General Dynamics test pilot, accomplished military aviator as well. His personal effects. And it makes my hair stand up talking about it. They said, we have his logbook, we have his helmet. And I was like, dude, stop right there. So we go into this room. Jim takes Airman Hutton and I, Meg, our public affairs specialist, into the archives. And he opens up this brown leather bound logbook. And I'm flipping through the pages, and sure enough, January 1974, getting to early 1974, it's like RF4, YF-16, first flight of 5 minutes, right there in his logbook, and he wrote it by hand, did every flight by hand. And that was a moment where I'm actually standing there reading Phil Ostricker's the first YF-16 flight ever. And then a few minutes later, sure enough, we find his helmet in a box, and we pull it out, and it's the red, white, and blue General Dynamics helmet, and it says Ostricker right there on the side. And I was like, dude, it was a moment that I'll never forget. And I decided that if people are going to see the airplane the way that it first flew, why not go all into the details and work the helmet for the way that it first flew? So my helmet currently is a 55P with the external visor shroud on it, and then we actually a friend of mine, Kyle Ruby, who wrapped the helmet, and it's pretty much a replica of how Phil Ostricker's helmet was, with my name and then our 50th anniversary logo on the back. So he actually was kind enough. He took a picture, which I'll make sure you get for the podcast, but side by side, he got almost the exact angle of a shot of Phil Ostricker sitting in the jet, and then our first show with the jet, and you can kind of see the helmets, and it looks pretty close.
I think I saw that picture, and I think Trap maybe gave you a little angle crap
He did,
on that.
yeah. So the angle was almost right, but not quite. You can only do so much.
Well, speaking of posting, I think the story you were just telling, you posted that, I believe, because I was able to surf to a video of the pilot talked about that first flight and what went wrong with it and stuff. I think that was, and if I can find that link, I'll put that up here too. It was pretty incredible.
It was a really nice interview on that.
It's had a little issue with that first flight. So
the airplane stick actually, not, and a lot of people know this about the F-16. The stick only moves a fraction of an inch. So there's 25 pounds of pressure is the flight control limiter, and that'll give you full up. Not 9 Gs, depending on the airspeed, the part of the envelope that you're in. But originally, the stick didn't move at all.
I was going to ask that. I was waiting for that. I was going to ask you if that was true.
Yep, it was a stiff stick. And so they were doing the high-speed taxi, and even when the airplane's so light, and I think the airplane that they were flying, I was reading through Phil's test reports, I want to say the airplane was 6,000 or 7,000 pounds lighter in the prototype than it is in the way that it's sitting on the ramp right now. Mm-hmm. And so I think they were doing a high-speed taxi. I don't remember the airspeed that he got to, but the airplane lifted off, and it started to, in order to keep it under control, he just not crash it. He actually had a wing strike and what have you. He just decided to take it around for its first unofficial flight, which he did. But good food for him because he saved the airplane and very well could have saved the project. So it's a cool story.
Man.
Then so they put the artificial movement of the stick in there just because that little bit of feedback is important to make you feel connected with the airplane.
That's what I heard was this, the human brain's amazing, but just able to sense the minute pressure that you're giving, that we had to put a little movement in there for the pilot.
And that's one of my favorite parts of the F-16 is it's always been the perfect fighter jet in my mind, but the fact that what I find so amazing is that it wasn't like one fighter pilot or two fighter pilots that designed the airplane. There's engineers and designers and all these folks that work in manufacturing and elsewhere that kind of somehow managed to put all of their minds together and build the perfect fighter jet that even till this day, 50 years later, I don't think there's an airplane out there that when you sit in it, it feels like the airplane becomes a backpack that can take you anywhere versus an airplane that you're flying. Everything down to the visibility in the cockpit. And I read I'll get you pictures of these that you can include because I have Jim scanned some of the test reports for me. One of Phil's first test reports, he said the visibility is unmatched. And that made my hair stand up reading that too, because it was the first impression I had in sitting in the airplane. I can't see any part of the airplane, the wings, the nose. I can only see outside. And there's no dividing glass in the canopy where the canopy comes together for some airplanes. It feels like I'm on the edge of a dart. And there's actually a fighter pilot that's something really fun. I wish I could remember his name, but he said the first time they flew the F-16, he was like, I feel like I forgot something. Yeah. Because you can't see anything.
Like the plane itself.
Yeah. So it's a really special airplane. And to read his notes and compare his feelings, there was one part in his notes where he talks about, I think he was at 40,000 feet in Mach 1.3. And he was so supersonic at 40,000, which is a special place to be. It's some of the best flying. Some of the most exciting flying for me is when the sky starts to get black, and if you get high enough, you can sort of see the curvature of the Earth. And he said that it took, I want to say it took 30 to 40 degrees nose high to see a decrease in Mach number. So the airplane was so fast, he really had the spurs in her for another horse. He was so fast at Mach 1.3, it took 30 to 40 degrees nose high to see any decrease in speed. It's a rocket ship. And the airplane that I'm flying today is a bigger motor. It's even faster than the one that he was flying. So, yeah.
Well, I just filmed a podcast with my old St. Louis F-15 buddies that ended up going TFI, going to Whiteman, the B-2s and all that stuff. And we'd go back and forth on the 15 versus 16. Yeah. And, they'd always give us crap for only having one engine, calling us a lawn dart, this and that. Yep. But I found a picture of two F-16s, and then the wording on the bottom was the most combat effective use of two engines. Yeah. I sent that to him. Never heard anything back. But we did review that during the podcast, and Pork Chop was like, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. No, the F-15 is an iconic airplane too. That's I would never turn down a chance to fly any airplane. And there's a friendly rivalry between the communities. But man, seeing the F-15 the C model getting ready to go away is sad because it was always an iconic fighter jet in my mind. Like the original movie of Air Force One with Harrison Ford. The good guys were in F-15s. I remember seeing the story I told in the previous podcast. Is September 11th, the F-15s had scrambled to end up over the city. Seeing some of the original footage and some of the pictures of the F-15s over the city, like it's a special airplane too. And so I have a lot of friends that are in the F-15 community, and man, talk about a lethal air machine. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So, how's your family faring?
Great
with all the travel. It's a lot.
we're all serving together is the kind of the way that I like to say it it's a huge lift for the family. But it's a unique opportunity. I mean, there's not many jobs in the world where you have the chance to, and they get to come to a couple of shows with me a year is what we're planning, but we're really grateful for the opportunity to serve this way. I share this with the team, and the team shares the sentiment with me, is that a few years from now, I'm going to take this off for the last time, and I'm never going to wear a black flight suit again. And the crew chiefs and the public affairs specialists out in the line, they're going to go back to being an active duty airman that doesn't have this job. It's not about us. It has nothing to do, like the public isn't here to meet Taylor. The public's just here to meet the American military. And our goal as a team is if everybody that walks up or at the booth or sees us fly the show, if they feel like they walked away with a piece of America in their back pocket, it's like, dude, we're winning. And that's the special part of this job of, yes, the family sacrificing, and yes, like we are serving and the Hiester family is serving, but really it's another part of America's story that we get to be a part of. And so it's really special to do. We're proud to serve in this way, but we know that in not too much time, we won't have this opportunity anymore. And
So it is a 3-year gig that you're doing?
It's a 2-year, 2 show seasons is the typical duration.
Okay, I figured you'd have 6 to 9 months of prep and then do your 2 years worth of actual air shows and then slide on out.
I was fortunate enough to travel with the team for the last part of the show season last year and kind of get my wits about me in the circuit, because it is a unique world. But you quickly become a member of the family. The Airshow family is real. It's a mafia of people that travel the country. And I made the Carnies joke, but seriously, I mean, you see the same folks. Rick Peterson's here. He's one of the best Airshow announcers in the world. And I saw him walk in the room this morning. I've seen him, several times at whether it's a conference or at shows, and it's like, hey, good to see you. And so the opportunity to be part of this family is awesome.
Yeah, no offense, but we're way out here in the middle of nowhere, USA, Pierre, South Dakota, not Pierre, if you see it that way. But if anybody sees this, the capital of South Dakota is Pierre, but it's right in the middle of the state and is by far not the largest town in the state. No. So it's pretty cool.
These are some of our favorite shows to do, though, these small town shows. And I was just joking with Mary. We were out on the line, and I'm looking out. So we just did a show in Portland and a couple of really large cities. And this is, wait till you go out there and see it. I know you've been setting this stuff up. But somehow the people of South Dakota have showed up and, with nobody telling them, have organized themselves in perfect cornrows of seating. You won't believe it when you get out there. There is an umbrella in sight. Everybody's being super respectful. There's no trash, and everybody is set up in perfect rows. Everybody has room to walk, and it's just mind-boggling. And when I brought it up to Mary, she said, "This is normal for us." And I was like, "Well, this is not normal for me. This is something unusual." It's almost as if like they got instructions in the mail that said, "You will show up to the air show and you will sit in this position and not move." But it's wonderful.
Our chairs will be out there tomorrow.
Yeah,
so we'll fall right in line. Taller tap,
Our team is going to bring you out to Show Center today for the show, so that'll be really, really nice.
Oh,
for the,
wow!
So,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool. And when you get done with the flight itself, is that when you get to go like to the edge of the fence and meet the crowd? Is there a fence where you're going to meet people? No fence. You're going to be like right there.
There's no fence.
That's another deal.
Yeah, that's a unique part of the show as well. There's not a fence that's going to keep the public back, but people are just aware of where they should go and where they shouldn't, which is really nice. But we're grateful to the police and the security and the volunteers that are kind of there to make sure that people are safe and whatever. But yeah, so my favorite part of the show, without a doubt, is when I shut the airplane down and walk towards the crowd, because the flying is, and I know people probably, this isn't the fighter pilot thing to say, but and it might disappoint people to hear this, that the flying is very benign. The flying is the most benign part of my job because it's the same profile wherever I go. And if there's anything exciting about the flight, it's not good because there's something different that's going on.
Right.
So it should be not exciting. But when we shut the jet down, it's kind of a new thing the team has been doing, is like, without a doubt, the rule is like once we shut the airplane down, we walk to the crowd, because that is the moment that for a little kid to see these distant dark uniforms and machine fly the show, it's the moment where those figures and that machine becomes human, and to share that moment with the crowd and just to be somebody that in flesh and sweat that they can see and talk to and touch.
And you are a testament to that and that working. And like I said, I linked to his podcast earlier. He tells more of that story, that if you're interested in this, you can certainly tune into that and see more of the backstory on the gentleman that's sitting right here today.
Yeah, we love talking to folks, and it's special.
Do you have a coolest thing that's happened while you're greeting people and a weirdest thing or strangest thing that's happened when you're greeting people?
Well, man, I have not been prepared to. I did not prepare to answer that one. There's no shortage of unique interactions, and that's why it's really a great part of the job. One of the things that happens at shows is that a lot of interactions with people are superficial. There's 1,000 interactions a day, which are you join the show? And people are saying, yeah, I'm so excited, or what time do you fly? And those happen all the time, all day long. But every now and then you get to meet a young person that comes up, or even an older veteran that comes up, and you can feel that special connection of this matters a lot to them, but they don't know it. It also matters a lot to me. My rule is that I always give my show patches, the ones I flew in the demo, to the first veteran that I can find in the crowd, which is cool because the focus for the Air Force, and I told the team, I was I never want to say the word recruit. I just don't. Mm-hmm. And the reason that is because if we can convince everybody all of the Americans that we meet to just serve their community, it's going to be better for the country. Whether they think that's Pierre, South Dakota, or Portland, Oregon, or Hillsboro, or wherever it is, if they want to serve their town, their school, their community, or their country like we do, we think that the country will be a better place. And it's not just for young people, but older folks as well, veterans that have already served. So to make them feel special and patriotic and part of the team is really important because I think all too often when you take the uniform off for the last time, you surrender a great deal of that identity. And I think you might be able to feel that too, that to share that moment with a veteran in the crowd of dude, thanks for serving, and thank you're still part of the team is really cool because there will be a day that you take this varsity suit off the last time, as you know.
Right.
And you just hope it standing on the sidelines must be hard. And I know I'm going to be that old man someday. So I hope someday somebody comes and talks to me.
Yeah, and you mentioned the crowd and how you have the followership. And you can just tell by looking out on the crowd when you hear not only the big jet engines and the powerful engines, but when you go to air shows where they have some of the World War II birds and just the sound of some of those rotary motors, and you can just tell by looking around, who is really deeply enjoying that, not just superficially. Hey, that's cool. I mean, they feel it. And I'm anxious to go out there. And I've been to a lot of air shows, most of them in Sioux Falls there. But I'm real anxious to be sitting out here in my corn row.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. We're going to bring you up to Show Center with Jenna and John today, and so you guys, you're more than welcome to fall in line with the rest of South Dakota tomorrow. But we want you to be there with the family tomorrow, today. So.
You bet. Well, I'll leave this T-shirt on.
Yeah, please do. They'll know.
Yeah.
They'll know. So
I'll save my rodeo time one for tomorrow. Then out there.
Perfect.
I did not have a bunch of questions generated for today. I'm trying to think, is there anything that you would like to cover?
Yeah, I would like to say that the 50th anniversary of the airplane's special. I think that one of the reasons I was so inspired to do the YF-16 paint scheme is that it's been a long time since the Air Force has painted an airplane red, white, and blue and put U.S. Air Force on the side. And of course, there's the Thunderbirds, there's large teams, Blue Angels, Thunderbirds, people are used to seeing. But I think when you see our airplane in person, many people have come up to me and said, it looks so much more breathtaking in person than I thought it would in pictures. And one of the other special things is I actually have a die-cast model. One of my first airplane toys was the YF-16. I have it in my G suit. I'll show you guys.
Nice.
But I've been flying with it in my pocket. And so many people have come up to us and said, I built that airplane for the first time, my first model with my dad, or I had the YF-16 die-cast toy. But we truly believe, the team believes this, that this is America's airplane. I kind of made a joke about it, but we think that it was born, the F-16 was born in a time when America said and did enormous things, and we weren't afraid of failure. I've said that we used to do things, and it's probably the same now. But from my perspective, anyways, the airplane takes us one step closer, maybe back in time to when we did big things without fear of failure, and what we would lose if we failed, and without the fear of what we might be able to save if we didn't. And so I think the airplane speaks to that vision a little bit of where America was 50 years ago, and it's just the beginning. We're a young country, and so I hope when people see this airplane, it just makes them feel proud because we believe it belongs to them. And
there's one difference in this airplane. You mentioned it on the post, and you called it America's airplane.
Yeah.
Explain the nose cone.
Yeah. So a lot of people, and it was tough in the beginning, I will admit, because we thought it was going to be this ugly duckling with this gray nose cone. The radar in the airplane, I don't believe the prototype had a radar in it, but the radar sits right behind the nose cone of the airplane, and it's actually not painted. It's this RF transparent. But I'm a poli-sci major, so I'm not going to act like I know what it all is. But just know that the radar works, and if that cone were to be painted, it would significantly degrade the capability of the radar. And early on in the project, I mean, we were doing some pretty creative things to try and get our hands on a radome because they're like $200,000. I mean, the whole project, that would have been several times over what the whole project cost to paint the radome to get it repaired at the end of it all. But the fact that the radome was gray was originally a disappointment to me. I was trying everything I could to get it to the prototype standard of the black and the anti-glare black with the white. But then when it didn't work and we decided that like maybe we just leave it. And there were some leads going on of how we might be able to get it done. And the first time we pulled it out into the Rogers Dry Lake bed, I actually rode the brakes. So I was in the cockpit for the tug, so I didn't get to see the airplane outside until we were out on the lake bed. My dear friend Tony Accurso, who really was the hitman behind the whole thing to make this happen, said, when you get out, we're out on the dry lake bed where the first space shuttle landed, Neil Armstrong landed in the X-15. He's like, when you get out, don't turn around until you walk away from the jet. And he made me do that. There's a video of it. So we walked like 20 paces away. It was kind of like a wedding first look, it was funny. But we turned around, and the first time I saw it on the lake bed, it makes my hair stand up talking about it. I was so grateful that we didn't paint the nose. And the reason was because this airplane is a combat veteran. It's been to war. And if God forbid we needed to go to war with this airplane tomorrow, I've made jokes that I could get the group of guys that are standing out there on the ramp a 30 rack of beer, and we could get a Creed CD and sand that thing down and make it gray tomorrow. But if we painted the nose cone, it would not be a combat-ready airplane. And so I think it's kind of cool. Like, yes, it's a nod to the prototype. It's a nod to America's history. But make no mistake that this airplane is still keeping the enemy awake at night, and that's just really, really cool. And that's why I think it's cool that the nose is still gray.
Next week, it could be overseas killing bad guys.
Yes, it's if needed.
You bet. Excellent. And there's another plane out here and a couple of your buddies.
Yes, that's true.
Who's that, and what's that about?
Yeah, so the South Dakota Guard is out here, and again, this is the home show. I can't tell you how much Colonel Doohan, who you interviewed in the podcast, Jeremy, the Doohan family is wonderful friends of ours, and Jenna and John are actually spent a great deal of time there with them the last few days. The fact that so much of the South Dakota Guard, as many that are home at the time, have made the trip up to see the show is really, really special to me. Like I said, the South Dakota Guard became my family, and it did feel like home when I flew into South Dakota.
And the Colonel Doohan he's talking about on that podcast was with his dad, General Doohan.
Yes.
Father-son fighter pilot, so I'll put a link up here on that as well.
Yep. So, yeah, super special that they're out here. I owe so much to that unit. Whether it was the instructor upgrade, the experience of flying Inauguration Day with Duke, I just owe so much to you and the rest of the Lobos. Our whole family does. So.
And you say Amish is here as well?
Amish is here. I just saw Scooter, our chief of intel. I've seen a lot of the guys out here, which is really special. Steve from Ops, he's out there, just running into people all over left and right. So yeah, he's out there.
Oh man, yeah.
And he's getting ready to retire in August. Yeah, he's getting ready to retire in August. So I'm grateful that he made the trip up, and he might do. I don't even know if all these people knew that I was coming, but I'm grateful that they're here. So.
And your buddy Chachi, I thought maybe he was here. I'd heard that. That was wrong. Yeah. He's defending our freedom overseas somewhere right now with our unit, isn't he?
Yeah. Yep. So I'm just grateful that everybody that is here came out. So.
Yeah, this is cool. I'm anxious to see everybody out there.
Yeah, me too. So. Cheers, Chief.
Cheers. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Hello, we're here with Lieutenant Colonel Jeremy Doohan, and he was actually on the very first Hog House Chronicles podcast with his dad, father-son fighter pilot. I'll put the link up here for you to see. Yep. And he is here to see FEMA as well. And why don't you just go ahead and For people that haven't seen your podcast, maybe just a little bit about yourself and then how you came to be here and be friends with FEMA and the day that we enjoyed.
Sure. Yeah. Born and raised in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Went to high school at Roosevelt, went to SDSU for college. Prior enlisted with the unit in South Dakota. I was a fuel systems maintenance guy. I did that for about 6 years as I was going through SDSU, and then got hired on to fly and been flying ever since. And so I've been with the unit. It'll be 25 years here in August. So it's amazing how quick time goes.
Wow.
But currently the OSS commander. I've been doing that for about a year and really enjoying it. And just between flying, being a dad to two, I got a 3 and a 6-year-old girls and my wife Tina. So life is pretty darn busy. Just got back from a deployment overseas to Indo-PACOM in the Pacific. Was there for a couple months. Really enjoyed that. Had some awesome flying with a bunch of other units that were there. And so then, just had the opportunity, made it back just in time. Flew a jet up for a static display, and so got a chance to hang out with FEMA and Jenna and their newest John, 2-year-old. And so that's been a joy. We really got to know them well over his first tour within the Air Force, being a fighter pilot at Sioux Falls, and just built a really good friendship with them. So it's really neat to be able to come up here and watch him do his thing.
I bet it didn't take very long once he showed up for you two to connect. Mm-hmm. You guys have been friends for quite a while now.
We have, yeah, yep, and we're both living pretty busy lives, so it's hard to stay up to date and have continuous phone calls. But we check in every few months with each other. But getting a chance to see each other face to face, and obviously now with him flying the demo, flight that he did today was really neat to see that and spend some time with his family. And so it's been good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we all got to be up in the VIP area there.
Yep,
show center
exactly.
and stuff was
Couldn't
pretty
ask for
cool.
much better.
Yeah, I was trying to film it. You'll see it on this thing once we put it all together. But boy, it's hard to film on against that sky with a
small
cell phone
airplane.
camera, and I just quit zooming in.
Yes,
we're just going to try to put it together in segments, and then maybe I'll try to take segments and zoom in.
I think that's a good idea.
When he's explaining some of the stuff. But I remember when we filmed our podcast with him in South Carolina, there was that picture of you and him with the flag.
Sure.
After that flight that you did. So
yeah, we did the inauguration for President Biden several years ago, which is hard to believe. It's 7 years ago already. But he and I got to do the inauguration, and we brought a couple flags with us, and that was one of them. And so at the end of the flight, we held that up together and took a picture, and I gave that to him as a going away present. It's just a good, remembrance of getting to fly with him and the special mission that we had together. So
he said it's one of the very few framed photos that's in his house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was there, and I looked around after that.
Yeah.
He wasn't lying.
Yeah.
He had his favorite painting behind me with George Washington crossing to Delaware.
Yep.
Side note here.
Yes.
My family came in from New York, that part of the country over there, and there's a Myers, Myers, is the name on my mom's side. But I found out that some of that family, they started the Concord Grape Company out there, but this ties in with Hiester and his favorite painting. Mm-hmm. One of my relatives made that boat that Washington crossed the Delaware in.
Really?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep. One of my cousins, she put it together even in a book, historian style, for our, I think, 2019 class or FEMA reunion or something.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, I got to pass that on to him.
Cool.
I think I texted it to him. But,
yeah, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's just a special guy, and we have so many good pilots at the South Dakota Air National Guard. And the maintenance people they just take care of those jets amazingly,
Absolutely.
and you guys get to fly them. I didn't realize you were going to have a static display up here till we drove by yesterday. So I wonder who flew that in. And
absolutely. Made it back from my deployment on Monday, and so I was a bit jet lagged, but had some time to recover, and then was able to fly up
soon.
on Friday. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just
I didn't realize you went to the first half of that.
I did. Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's tight.
Yeah, it is.
Your eyes aren't even bloodshot.
Well, I'm still recovering. And like I said, having 3 and 6-year-old, they're making it a little bit tough on me, but
You bet.
yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned their family, and I love their the middle name they gave John Garrison.
Yeah, Garrison.
And that's military
Yeah, it
America
is.
through and through, isn't it?
He only hears it when he's in trouble, but
Yeah. How did your family fare when you were deployed?
they were good, and we have a pretty good support structure with my parents in town helping, and my brother and some other friends that kind of kicked in. Tina bore the brunt of the majority of it. She's just a hard worker and very independent, and so I'm very fortunate to have her, and she didn't complain at all, and even though she had well within her rights to do so.
Well, hard worker, and you can give her a plug on here. She started a business.
Yeah, she started a business 2 years ago, and it's been just taken off and soaring and done abundantly well, probably too well, I would say. She's really growing, and so there's been it's been a lot of hard work that she's put into it, and she's starting to reap what she's sowed, and done really, really well. So
And it's in the medical field. Right?
it is, yeah. It's aesthetics. It's refined aesthetics is what it's called, and so they do a lot of cosmetic stuff on the side, and she's still a CRNA here in town as well. So yeah.
Wow, you guys are busy.
Yes, very
Busy.
busy. It's not boring.
I mean, it seems like everybody's busy, but
Sure.
Some are busier
Yes.
than others overall. But doing the professional things really
Yes.
Takes a lot. A lot of professional things in one family is what you got
It
going
is.
on there.
Yep. Yeah, we're lighting the candle at both ends. So.
Yep. And 25 years in, you have already.
Yes,
you said.
already. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah, it's gone by quick. I remember the first time I agreed to enlist, I was debating between 4 and 6 years, and I thought, well, I want to be a pilot, so I suppose I can sign the longer contract of 6, and here I am 25 years later. Just laughing that I even considered 4 years, but yeah,
Nice.
it's been great.
Nice. So what was your favorite parts of the air show today?
The air show today, I just love the size of the crowd. It was just kind of a more intimate, small town feel, which is really cool. The one in Sioux Falls is like 100,000 people or more. And so you kind of get lost in the crowd, and it doesn't have as neat of a feel. And so Pierre has been just a great place. I spent a lot of time up here hunting and fishing and spending time with the people here. And it was really neat to see that. So I'd say just the small town feel to it, which, obviously watching FEMA get to do his demonstration was great. And I couldn't be prouder of him. It was a proud moment for me. Getting to see him do that, just to see how far he's come, early in his career to where he is now. So
Yeah, he's an amazing guy to watch.
He is.
And he's got great family support,
Yep.
Jenna and John, and
Yeah.
he was real happy to be back in South Dakota for this. And
Yes.
As I walked along, there were actually more people than I thought were going to be here, and the line just went along that ramp.
I agree.
Compared to what I saw driving by yesterday outside the fence. But yeah, it was. I loved the hometown feel. One of the first people I saw that I knew walking around is Chuck Murtha, Bubba.
Oh,
guy
yeah.
that's been on our horseback trip that
Sure.
we've been doing for 28 years, and his son is a crew chief.
Okay.
And also now flies jets commercially, not airlines,
Sure.
but charter type stuff. He's
Wow.
actually going to be going over to the Orient to pick up a new jet now for
Oh,
some
is he really?
company and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Catching up with them, and that guy's brother is in the Army. I think he's a recruiter like up in this area.
Sure.
here.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
We also
Small
saw
world.
Doc Sarda that lives here, retired flight doc.
Yep. Yeah.
He was a veterinarian before he was a doctor.
Yeah. You don't
And,
see that very often.
Yeah, I think that'd be like one of the guys I'd trust the most.
Yeah, that's
because they're working on patients that can't tell you where it hurts. So
That's right.
Yeah, I heard maybe Steve Jansen was around here. We saw
I didn't see him yet.
Scott Burr.
Yep.
FEMA mentioned Steve might be here. I didn't see him.
Sure.
So you guys going to be around tomorrow too?
Yeah, we're going to be here tomorrow, and then I got to fly the jet out after the air show. They kind of want to clean up everything. So, we'll be out here tomorrow afternoon, so that'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah,
How about
I should
you
have
guys?
figured you had to fly the jet home
Yeah,
again.
that's right.
Although Amish was here,
Yes.
I don't know if he had a suitcase in his bag,
Yeah,
but it sounds like
yeah.
he's going home today.
He is. Yep. For
Yeah.
sure.
I was teasing him. He's pretty shy. I was teasing him about getting in front of a mic. here,
Yeah, I can't imagine
but
that.
we did talk about doing just a standard podcast with him at home.
That'd be
maybe.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of shy, but I told him, I'll guide you.
Yeah,
I'll
there's
guide
nothing to be
you through
afraid
that.
of.
Yeah, nothing wrong with being humble.
That's right.
That's for
Yep,
sure.
that's true. Yep.
So,
Yep. That's true.
Any other experiences today you want to talk about, or?
Boy, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was a great day. It was a proud moment, like I said, getting to see FEMA do the demonstration and seeing his nice young family, and it's just I feel like just like a proud dad moment, almost what it felt like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah, he's worked hard to get where he's gotten to, and I'm excited to see where he goes.
When he was sitting in that chair and my wife Mary was over here, I had already shut off the main mics, but before I got those off, Mary said our standard phrase, FEMA for president. So,
for his sake, I hope he doesn't. But
yeah, I don't know if he heard it or not, but we're rooting for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
No matter what.
Yeah, he'd be a good guy to represent people, that's for sure. So.
Well, thanks for taking the time
Yeah,
to
you
sit
bet.
in here for a few
Yeah,
minutes.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks for watching. Hello, we're back with one of the members of the fighter demo team, and we're going to let him introduce himself and as much as he wants to say about where he grew up, how he came to be in the military, and to become a pilot. And then we'll go from there.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me here. I'm Captain Daniel Van Sciver, call sign Dread. I'm a qualified F-16 pilot and flight lead stationed at Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina. A little bit of my background. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. My dad also flew for the Air Force. He flew B-52s and then retired there at Randolph flying the T-6. So I grew up my whole life in San Antonio and then went off to University of Alabama, Roll Tide there for school. During college, I did the ROTC route, got my commission out of there, and then went back to Texas for pilot training out at Laughlin Air Force Base. Got F-16s out of Laughlin for my first assignment. Went out to Luke for the B course there with the 309th Fighter Squadron. So quack to those guys. And then after Luke, went to my first combat Air Force assignment at Shaw Air Force Base with the 77th Fighter Squadron, the Gamblers. So double down to those guys. And then at Shaw, I had my first deployment / only deployment. Went to Saudi Arabia, flying there in support of Operation Inherent Resolve. And then I got picked up for the demo safety gig here recently, just about a month ago.
Oh, that soon.
Yeah.
Or that recent, I should say. Okay. So I liked when we were talking the other day, the added safety aspect to this. So go ahead and explain what you're doing here and helping the team out.
Yeah, so for every demo show, including practices that FEMA does, he has a safety observer who's going to be a qualified F-16 pilot, and then that's the role I'm filling here. So I'm on the radio with him, standing at show center there with the air boss and some of the rest of the team that's doing the call-outs for his maneuvers. So I talked to FEMA about some of the safety call-outs that he has to make, and then make sure that his parameters are within limits for some of his maneuvers, making sure that he's safe during those maneuvers. So he calls out what his parameters are throughout the routine, and then I just acknowledge those or call him to adjust his maneuver as required to make sure he's staying safe. And then I also do some relaying between him and the air boss or the rest of the team for their information.
Mm-hmm. And was there special training that you had to go through in order to do this, or was just the training that you got for being an F-16 pilot enough?
Yeah, so it was a little bit of extra training there. So they do pull from Shaw Air Force Base, since that's where the Viper demo team is stationed, and anyone can do it. It's very similar to the rest of the demo team qualifications. So you put your name in the hat to kind of volunteer to do this, and then your leadership picks a couple people based on who they think is qualified and a good performer. And then the actual training itself is done in-house by the Viper demo team. So that's kind of one-on-one with FEMA, him walking through the routine and his expectations.
Mm-hmm. And there's multiple squadrons at Shaw, so do they split that out evenly with you guys? Because like you said, it's a volunteer position that you're doing. Is that correct?
Yep. So there's 3 squadrons there, and the way FEMA split it up this year is he's having one squadron kind of take the safety observer role at a time, which is different from past years where people have been picked up as a safety observer 1 week at a time, like per air show. This kind of allows us to travel with the team and then get familiarity with both the team on like a personal level as well as the routine and what that looks like and what the expectations are and everything there. So the Tigers took the first bunch of the shows for the year, the 79th Fighter Squadron, and the Gamblers, which is my squadron, have kind of the middle shows, and the Shooters will be finishing out the season, which is nice for me because I'm about to PCS over to Holloman.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, and you mentioned FEMA and the personal end of it. You can tell he's huge on the personal part of,
For sure.
of anything with the word team in it.
Yep,
for sure. So,
and it's been a great experience, especially just getting to know the kind of airshow community, getting to know people, meeting these performers that are they hop around to air shows very similar to how the Viper demo team does. So seeing them at different places and learning about what they do has been very awesome opportunity.
Yeah, you can see how the team has to be high energy in order to do this as often as they do.
Yeah.
Does it slow down through the winter some, or do you mostly do southern shows then?
It does, and again, as a safety observer, I'm not going to be with the team for everything, but it's a 2-year gig for them, so they spend most of the off season when they're not doing air shows just practicing back at home station. So they do basically what they do at an air show, but it's just going to be over the field during our normal operating hours.
Right. Well, they can breathe a little bit more without
exactly.
the travel
Yeah.
and the pressure and things. So yeah, it's a great group from out there from what I've seen.
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool. So did you have childhood aspirations to be a pilot, or how did that work?
I didn't. I was very much a late bloomer in all aspects. I didn't really have any aspirations to go into the military until I got to college, and then I was kind of weighing whether I wanted to continue the college route or potentially just go straight into the military. I ended up staying in college and doing RTC to get my commission. And then when I got to pilot training, I was lucky enough to get a pilot slot firstly. And then once I got to pilot training, I wasn't sure if I wanted to fly, go the cargo tanker route or fly the fighter bomber route until I got to pilot training, got a couple months in and doing some of the slightly more tactical things, the fast flying, the formation, the aerobatics, that type of thing. I really enjoyed that. So tried to go the fighter bomber route and again, was fortunate enough to get accepted. And then really it was the Wild Weasel mission that kind of made me like the F-16 so much. I really like that the F-16 can do both air-to-air, air-to-ground, and the SEAD mission. And so I put my name in the hat to try to drop F-16s and was lucky enough to get selected for that.
Cool. I like how you were looking at the heavy aircraft as well, because just knowing that there's life after the military, and if a person wanted to go into the airlines, having the multi-engine ratings and things really goes a little down the airline way than a
for sure
centerline single engine plane kind of deal. But I'm sure it's a blast flying the Corvette. But,
absolutely.
And one thing I learned through the years, being in the squadron on the enlisted side, is like the flying of the jet. I mean, is very important. But there's so much more with the avionics and upgrades every year. It's
absolutely.
It's a struggle for you guys to keep up with all the technology.
Yeah,
but
we often say, it's not too hard to fly. Most people could figure it out. Go faster, go slower. Trees get smaller, trees get bigger. But it's all the other things that you're doing: the sensor management, the formation, flying, the tactical stuff that you have to do all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you had a special day yesterday.
Yes, 5-year anniversary with my wife, and
you're away.
We've moved enough times that we've lived in just about enough states in that same time. So unfortunately, on the road for that one, which is happens in the military, but thankfully I have a very understanding wife. So we're just gonna move the celebration to next weekend.
Yeah, that's what we do too. We just slide the date to whatever night.
Yep.
So. Yeah, I appreciate you coming in here and explaining all this. I think it's going to be pretty interesting for
thanks
people.
for having me.
Do you have any other shout-outs you'd like to do before we close out?
Yeah, so shout out to my wife, Juliana. Julie, thank you for everything, and thank you for an amazing 5 years. Happy anniversary. I love you. And to my parents, thanks for everything you've done for me, Mary and Steve Van Sciver. And to everybody else, double down and fangs out.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. Thanks for watching.
Okay, well, I wanted to take a few minutes and share something with you. So I, for the podcast especially, every kid dreams of growing up to meet a real life cowboy, And when I moved to South Dakota, like I say, I always tell people, like, I thought South Korea and South Carolina were my two options of getting assigned. So when I got assigned to South Dakota, it was pretty surprising. But we didn't know we just had no idea how many people that would become family, and you guys are part of that. And so I don't know if I told the story in the first podcast, but we ended up becoming really, really good friends. And you gave me the honor of officiating a retirement from the Air Force 3+ decades, and that was something I'll never forget. And then the really special part of the story is, how military moves go. Jenna and I are trying to pack up everything. We think we're going to be out on time. And so the morning of after our going away party, which was great that the doings through, we're packing up the whole house. And we think we're going to be out at 6 a.m. And I tell you, and I didn't know that you were planning on anything, but I said, we'll probably pull out of town at 6 a.m. And then 6 goes by, 7 goes by, 8 goes by. And I'm like, oh, we're getting a late start to the day. It's no problem. It turns out you had been waiting at the end of our block since 6 a.m.
Hiding behind trees when you would
trees,
turn my way.
And, and you're in your old trusty Civic. So you had been waiting all that time. And do you remember what time we ended up actually pulling out of there?
9:30ish.
Yeah,
maybe.
so 3.5 hours later, which you could have watched, I don't know, Saving Private Ryan or Schindler's List twice, which is a long time. But you were a popsicle at the end of that. But what was so cool about that is that you made sure that we became family, but you were the last person that I shook hands with in South Dakota, which was really special. And that was really special because as we pulled up the street, you yelled at me. I'm like in my phone trying to navigate and whatever, and you yelled at me and you said, "You did it, man," and that was special. But what was cooler is the last thing I remember leaving South Dakota from that day is that you were up on one of the highway overpasses in front of us waving the American flag, which was something I'll never forget. So the last hand I shook in South Dakota, I made sure that for the last couple of days as I was flying the show in my G suit was an American flag because it was very meaningful to me. That the last memory I had leaving the state before I left was seeing this. And then, so all these years later, a couple of years later, I wanted to make sure that I flew the flag for you for the last couple of days.
Much.
Yeah. So this is for you.
Greatly
Chief.
appreciated.
You probably saw it rolled up in my G suit and all your pictures, but I flew 2 flags this weekend. One was the flag that Duke and I flew over Washington, D.C. Because that was a cool full circle moment. And then the other one was this one during the show. So that's for you, Chief, to display in the house.
Thank you, sir,
absolutely.
so much.
Yeah. Yep. So
that's amazing.
Just means a lot to me that you guys made the time to come up here, and your friendship to us means the world. So
thank you.
Yeah.
This will find a special place in the Hog House.
Yeah, I think it's a cool story because I'll never forget that, man. That was really special. So, anyways, That's all I wanted to record, but I wanted to make sure it was on video.
Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciated.
Yep. And I guess now it's time to have a couple of drinks.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Right.
Thanks.
How are you doing, sir?
How are you today?
Good. Might have to get you behind a microphone a little bit here after this deal. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
So that when he's playing this, he stays focused. It doesn't even bother him. Going through all of these repositions to do all of that.
I've been down so long that my mind can't get no rest. No, I've been down so long that my mind can't get no rest. No, this ain't easy, darling, 'cause the devil's on my trail. I've been running so long that my feet don't work no more. Oh yeah, I've been running so long that my feet don't work no more. Oh no, it ain't easy, darling, when the devil's on my
Call sign Dre from San Antonio, Texas. As a member of Air Combat Command's 20th Fighting located at Shaw Air Force Base in the beautiful Sumter. Captain Hiester would like to address the crowd from the cockpit. Let's listen in now.
Good afternoon, How's Happy Hire 65 I'd like to dedicate this pass to the men and women of the South Dakota Guard. My first squadron of July F-16. I'm proudly wearing the South Dakota Guard costume and like this. I'd like to dedicate the first pass to them, not only the members that are here, but the members that are going. God bless America, God bless South Dakota.
Absolutely amazing.
That's good.